Well, I think what it really comes down to is if we really care, if we really and truly care, and if we really and truly want to undo the damage that we've done, we're all going to have to lead our lives differently. We're all going to have to make a lot of adjustments. I don't know that even the guy behind this microphone really believes, really cares that much.
What do you mean you don't care that much?
Well, I'll tell you what. I think I've got a call coming up in a couple of minutes that might help explain what I've just said. And rather, if this call is what I think it is, rather than steal his thunder, we'll just ask you to listen for a few minutes. Okay? And then it should explain what I've just said.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Little hook, a little tease there, but I don't want to steal the caller's thunder. Thank you, Teresa. As a matter of fact, I'll take him right now if it's what I think it is. Let's see. Elliot in Tampa. Hi, Elliot. You're on the air at WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
Are you still there?
Yeah, I hear.
Hello?
Yes, Elliot, I'm here. Elliot, you cannot hear me? Amazing.
Hello?
Let me put Elliot on hold. I hope we're not having trouble again with the Tampa lines. Are we? That one just disappeared all on its own. Let me try Elliot again. Elliot, can you... Well, Elliot wanted to say that there is a station in this market that promotes violence. I'm not sure that Elliot was talking about this station or was going to talk about this station. But if he was, he might have had a point. Because it can be argued that, of course, we scream and holler and abuse people and actually even encourage people to abuse us. And I've thought about that. I've thought about it very much. There is some truth to it. And to the last caller, that's kind of what I was talking about. All right, I'm not so sure that I'm strong enough to do everything that I firmly believe in my heart should be done to make the place a lot better than it is.
Good afternoon.
And I get the feeling that the audience and I are communicating on two totally different planes, and this is one of those days I think we're communicating on two totally different planes. Let me go back to the last caller, Irwin, I believe his name was. You see, Irwin, the problem is not that Jason wasn't beaten enough or hard enough, because, first of all, I don't know whether or not he was ever beaten in school or at home or anything else, and that's not the problem anyway. The problem is that Jason thought the best way to deal with his grievance, be it his lost love or his suspension or whatever his grievance was to kill somebody. And that he just didn't have any concern for the value of life, even to the point of being prepared to take the lives of totally innocent, uninvolved people who got in his way. That's what the problem is. The problem is, how did this happen? And why did this happen? Is he demon-possessed, inherently evil? No. Or could it be the world that he lives in? Well, the odds are that without realizing it, we made him what he is. Now, that doesn't mean I wish to relieve him of responsibility for his despicable acts. No, I want him to suffer every consequence of the law. Every single last ounce of the consequences of the law. But the fact remains that we all somehow contributed to Jason and other Jasons. We all somehow contributed to it. And I don't think that we should walk around necessarily wearing hair shirts, but I do think we might want to sit down and reflect a little bit and look at just what it is that we are doing. I don't think there's any amount of beating that can make somebody value life. I don't think you can hit somebody often enough to make him see the stupidity and the folly of settling a grievance by killing someone or attempting to. I'll never be convinced of that. But I can be convinced, and I am convinced, that if over a period of a lifetime, and for Jason that's 15 years, but that's his lifetime, everything's relative, of course. Over the period of a lifetime, you can become so desensitized, so conditioned, as to not really realize what's right and what's wrong and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable and what is of value and what is not of value. That I'm convinced of. Totally and completely. And I'm not willing, not even thinking about letting the poor baby off. No, never. Jason's one that got through the cracks. And he's going to have to pay for it. I want him to pay for it. I'm enraged. I'm sick to my stomach over this. But I also have to realize that I may have played a part in it. And that sickens me too. Because of our own selfishness, sometimes even our own greed. We've all created this society, this weird world that we live in. It's exactly what we want it to be. It's exactly what we made it. Not everybody is as strong as everybody else. Not everybody is as intelligent as everybody else. And I can well understand wanting to beat the hell out of Jason. I'd like to beat the hell out of him myself if you'd like to know the truth. But I do have to accept and understand, and hopefully try to do something to correct the conditions, the environment in which he has lived his entire life. Because we're all part of the problem. Marion in St. Petersburg. Hi, Marion. You're in Tampa. Hi, Mick. You're on the air at WFLA.
Good afternoon, Bob. How you doing?
Fine, thanks.
Good. I've been listening to the show for the last number of hours now, and I've been I just want to make a comment on most of your callers are calling up and saying, well, it's the parents' fault that this child isn't brought up in the right environment. Well, I totally disagree with that. The thing that I can say is, once the child gets away from the house, walks down the street, now he's with his friends, there's a tremendous amount of peer pressure, and I think that's solely the amount of, the pressure on these kids today. And not only that, it's this tremendous amount of drugs on the street, and that is the main problem that these kids are dealing with today. When I was 15 years old...
Well, Mick, rather, I'm going to disagree with you. I don't know that drugs is the main problem today. I kind of tend to think that fantasy is the main problem the kids are dealing with today.
That definitely has a lot to do with it, but don't you think when this kid, I'm sure he was in some type of altered state when he brought that pistol into the school. I don't believe anybody in their rational mind would bring a loaded gun into a cafeteria full of 500 kids, do you?
I have no way of knowing, at least at this point in the game, whether or not he was on drugs or if he had good parents or bad parents. What I do know is that there are too many kids out there today, and this is our fault, who have nothing but fantasy in their head. They have no sense of reality at all.
Exactly. They have no regard for actual life. I don't think, now this is my opinion, I don't purposely think he took that gun out to purposely shoot them people, but in the struggle, it was just a disregard of human life that he just started pulling that trigger.
Exactly, precisely.
And to me, that's this fantasy world you're saying. They can't associate the difference between, well, how can I say it? When I was a kid, the difference, all right, we had Roy Rogers back in the early 60s. They have Schwarzenegger now. Look at what the difference is.
Right, Roy shot the gun out of the bad guy's hand, then went over and punched him in the nose and held him until the sheriff came.
But then why didn't we bring guns into the school back in the 60s?
No, you missed my point. Roy shot the gun out of his hand almost never.
Okay, right, I see what you're saying.
Punched him in the nose and held him till the law came. Schwarzenegger kills him.
Exactly, and he
takes the law into his own hands.
And he did it with such finesse that these kids today are thinking this is the way it really is. But what these kids have to do is actually see somebody. Like your last caller mentioned that he saw somebody get shot and it didn't really sink in. But in order for these kids to really realize what the difference between is fantasy and reality, they got to actually see somebody bleeding to death with a bullet wound to their head on the concrete. Then it might sink in. But during the 80s, we talk about this a number of times. I call up and we talk about the product of the 80s, these couch potatoes. And I think that box in the living room where all the chairs are pointing at is the main problem.
You find total agreement with me on that. Thank you, Mick.
Okay,
Like back to Mike, who called you a little earlier.
Mm-hmm.
I think his feeling really opened up the entire show. He called because a first-time caller, you can tell that he was a first-time caller. If you're nervous, you can't call right. But if you're confident of something you have to say, it's no problem. Perfect caller. I'm nervous as hell, too, because there's so much things I want to tell you. Back when I was in school, I'm 22, and I did drop out of school when I was in 10th and a half grade. I'm not too smart. I get by. When I was in my school, the thing that Mike said, when he said about making other students look up to you and all that kind of stuff,
mm-hmm.
That's the way it is. And I'm talking about Ted Webb's show when he was talking about a poll or something they took when he was in school, how the bad things were sticking your tongue out and smoking in school and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, up to the time where that poll was supposedly ended, and from the time that I graduated until these times now that the kids are still in school, I'm talking 17 and 18, nothing's changed. If it's a statistic right now, it's still holding. In my school, I remember a time when I was running down the hallway to catch a bell, and a tall black kid that was really pretty strong was doing the same thing. We bumped into each other, and he pulled out a knife. And I could tell the look in his eye was not to hurt me. He didn't necessarily want to hurt me. What he saw was the people that were standing around him. And he pulled that knife out, and since he pulled the knife out, how stupid is he going to look if he doesn't do something with it? The first thing he did, come after me. And you know what I thought? What's going to happen if I don't do something about it? What's going to happen? I'm going to look like an idiot. So there we are with this knife going at each other because of these other people that are standing around. It's nothing because of none of us. We weren't really that mad at each other. The thing was that neither one of us wanted to look stupid. That's just one thing I wanted to put on. Well, another time there were shotgun shots outside in the parking lot of our school. There's a spiral staircase that has round mirrors that go windows that go around it. And I was looking out on the way to another class, and out in the parking lot there were like 4 cop cars and 2 young black men that had shotguns. And they were shooting their brains out. They were just shooting. Nobody got hurt. But everybody was shooting. Right above me, two floors above me, a young man shot a pistol out the window shooting at the police. This was all in one day. Not the stabbing, but all in one day. Well, I did get stabbed. I got stabbed in the arm from the black man that stabbed me. But if the statistic still goes, it's the way I see it is a lot of people, when they're in their school, they look for, as what Mike put it, what did he say? What was the word he used? Publicity. That's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is. The feeling is bad. Stacy, is that the cause? A lot of people said she summed up a lot. She hadn't got part of it, Bob. She had most of her own feelings. I don't think you know what you started here today. Anybody over the age of 25 calling today really has no say in this, because their statistics is back with Ted Webb's. Even you, I don't think you know.
Oh, no, I have no understanding at all. I appreciate that.
Right. You said something about earlier. If you don't play guitar, or if you don't own a car or own a home, you're not a failure. You're a failure. Well, I play guitar. I own 2 new cars. I own a home, and I'm still a failure.
What makes you a failure, Chris? What makes you a failure? Why do you feel that way?
I still have these innate feelings. I still have these. Okay, in my school, we had a system. It was called 70-30. We had 70% stoners, we called them in that day. We ruled certain sections of the school. We did what we wanted to. There are areas outside of the school we could go between classes and smoke pot and do our things and all that kind of stuff. That's when I was a kid. Okay, and the other 30% were those who didn't. And we ran that school. We didn't really run it, but you know what I mean. And everything that I learned when I was a youth, my parents were divorced. They were remarried. Both of them were remarried, thank God, and they both live happy lives. My troubles are over as far as they go. They're both very happy. I'm happy. I'm married now. I got a baby on the way. Man, I'm in high city here. Got a good job, and I don't give a shit what anybody tells about me. If they don't like the way my past was or the way my parents raised me, that's fine with me. I don't care. I'm positive with myself. And when I heard about this shooting at the school, the only thing I could think about was this child that's on my way.
Chris, I'm still troubled. Why are you a failure? In your own eyes.
I don't mean that in a full perspective. I just mean that because
you're not a millionaire yet.
Still feel failure because of what I did to my mom, what I did to my dad, what I did to those who cared around me. I was a screw up in school. I really screwed up. I didn't care about anybody but myself. I lived in Kalamazoo, Michigan. The nickname for Kalamazoo, Michigan is Chemical City. That means acid. That means everything that goes around. Not to say I did all that stuff, but I was with the group. There was a gang of bikers up north. They were very unknown. Nobody knew them. They were called the Outriders. One of the men caught his girlfriend with another man in bed. He cut her from the vagina all the way up to the middle of the chest. I babysat for that guy a couple times. This is what I was around. This is my understanding. But don't get me wrong. The person who was at fault for this thing over here at Pinellas Park is the kid.
Of course.
It's nobody else's fault but himself. Nobody can blame that on his parents or nothing.
Well, that's where we would disagree. Is he responsible? You better believe it. But do we all share some blame? That's where you and I would didisagree. I think we do share some blame, Chris.
But, if the parents were, of course, I can see, and believe me, I ran away from home a few times, and I lived with a few homeless people. I lived in there in upper garage attic apartments, mouses and all that kind of crap, holes in the floor. I ran away from home. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be homeless. Let's put it that way. I'm only 22 years old, but I've set records, Bob. As far as knowing what people feel like. Actually done it myself. When I see these stupid homeless people, this pisses me off. Every day I hear something about homeless people. Nonetheless, people think about homeless people, but what about the homeless children? What's going to happen to them? Think about it. They're going to become angry, and they're going to kill. That's all there is to it. I'm so pissed right now, Bob, I don't know what to do. What about my kids? What's going to happen? What am I supposed to do? They can notice when these kids come in these classes wasted, and don't tell me they don't come in these classes wasted, because I did it myself, and no teacher could tell. I didn't hear a word those teachers told me. There's no direction. They don't care. They want to get over with their classes and go home. At times, I feel different than this. I feel that the teachers do deserve much more money than they're getting, because they do put up with a lot of people that were like me. And I think I'm speaking for the present generation. Bob, I only call you when I think I have something to tell you. I've called you twice before because I won't even talk about it right now, but I've only called you twice before because I thought I had something to say. And I'm telling you, from the time Mike called you until the time I called you, none of those people had anything to say. If they did, it was very little. Inside feelings of what's coming out here. A lot of people my age, I can guarantee you, a lot of people my age are pissed off right now. Their hearts are beating as hard as mine is.
What are you mad at, Chris?
I'm just mad, Bob. I'm just mad at the thought, the people that walk around. I can drive. I got a new car right now, and I drive around quite often in it. It's a little sports car, and I just drive around because I'm happy with the car. And to tell you the truth, I'm more happy with it because I actually got it. Because of the failure I was in school in my young life, I actually got this damn thing, and a house, and a kid, and I'm okay. I'm making good money. And screw anybody else who says anything different. The thing I'm mad about is when I drive that car of mine down through old person section, like the old trailer parks that are off the back of the roadways, they just look at me with complete fear. Complete fear. I have long hair. I work with the public over a public service counter in a grocery store. And those people look at me, unless they know me, they look at me with fear and doubt. And I hate that. A lot of people who saw this newspaper today are looking in that thing and they're hating those kids and they're hating those kids and everything. But you know what led those kids to do what they got to do what they did? It's because of what if they're not accepted by the elders. It's not necessarily only the young people when they walk out of that school. If they don't look normal, forget it. Forget it.
Chris?
I got one personal thing I want to say, okay?
Please make it real quick.
You know Ace from St. Pete?
Mm-hmm.
He's a good friend of mine, and he was an employee of mine. I know he's mad as hell right now, and it's Friday night. He's probably planning on going out and get his ass toasted tonight. I just want him to know I care about him, and I don't want him to be as mad as he is.
Thank you, Chris. 3-4.
Hi.
Hi.
I was there at the time of the incident at school. I'm home today because of the incident. I didn't want to go back and face the school today. I was scared. I didn't know what was going on. So a little bit later, I walked back to class not knowing what had happened. And one of our deans came over the intercom saying, "Teachers, please hold all your students. There's been an emergency in the building. Don't let them out of class for any reason." And they called the teachers out. We were in a state of limbo for a long time, and then finally it came upon us that this happened. And our teacher came in and said, "Mr. Allen has been shot," and supposedly others. And we were all we just went in a shock. I was terrified because I knew him, and he was a nice man to me.
Did you know either of the two boys?
No, I didn't. I had seen the one around school, Jason McCoy, around school, and I had said hi to him a couple occasions because some of my other friends were friends with him. But I had never, had a conversation or anything with him. He was just the kind of person I don't think I'd hang around with, even when I first saw him, because he wasn't really an emotional person.
How many kids are in your school, Mike?
About 3,500.
3,500. Okay. Is it a good school?
Yes, it's a very good school. I wouldn't take any other school over it. And as I was sitting inside of our auditorium where I was, one of my friends, a 13-year-old freshman, walks in, and she's in tears, and she's got her head in her hands. And I walked back to the back to talk to her. She was there. She saw it. That's all I can think of. Nobody's really too old. No one should really see something like this. But her, a 13-year-old girl, that's for her for life. She saw the whole thing. That's awful to have to see something like that.
Why do you think it happened, Mike? What do you think could have possibly caused it?
I think he was probably just showing off. I think he probably said, hey, him and the other kid probably said, hey, we went out and we robbed the house. We got 2 guns on us, and we got another weapon. I don't know what the other weapon was. All I know is there was another one. But, they said, hey, we got weapons, and said, hey.
Got hurt or someone died?
Of course.
You wash the ashtray?
That,
Or just kind of empty it out?
very picky about my ashtray. I never put cigarette butts in there.
You don't?
Only ashes.
Oh, you throw them out the window?
I throw them out the window.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to polish it tomorrow?
Yeah, I am, as a matter of fact.
You're going to waste your entire day. You don't have to do that, Webb.
How come?
Well, you could go to the Grand Prix Car Wash. It's on Gulf to Bay Boulevard, 1880 Gulf to Bay. Do you know where Clearwater High School is?
Sure I do.
It's right across the street. Save you time, and they'll do a better job than you can do yourself.
Well, I know they probably could. Tell me more about them.
Tell you, what would you like done to your car? You see, that's one of the great things about Grand Prix Car Wash is that you can, kind of mix and match, mix and match, pick and choose what you want. Would you like your tires armor-alled?
Sure.
Make them look better than they did when they were new.
Also the interior, too, so that...
Oh, no problem.
They can take care of that.
No problem at all.
Different types of wax jobs that they can do?
All different kinds. I mean, there are at least 3 different types of automatic waxing jobs that they will do to your car. And if you want, they'll actually apply it by hand.
That's the one I'm interested in.
You got to go to the Grand Prix.
What hours are they open?
What hours are they open? They're open when you need them open. They're at 1880 Gulf to Bay Boulevard. Don't ask me what hours they're open. I don't know what hours they're open. They're open from early in the morning to late at night. 1880 Gulf to Bay Boulevard in Clearwater. Grand Prix Car Wash. Finest high-tech car wash. By the way, Webb, when you're there, mention my name and they'll armor all those tires for you for free.
Great.
What are you doing this afternoon?
Basically, more of what we did yesterday and some of what you're doing today. Taking a look at what happened at Pinellas Park High School yesterday and realizing that it's amazing that it just happened yesterday. Because we had a couple of students on yesterday that tell us that weapons are commonplace in high school right now. 22 weapons confiscated last year in Hillsborough County alone. So we're surprised, we're shocked, because maybe we're not in tune to what is actually taking place in the high school campuses. But that's a time bomb ready to explode. And there are no short-term solutions. I don't think that there's really no one answer to why things are happening there, Bobby, because they're just an extension of what's happening in society. We need to take a good look at ourselves right now. And that's what we're going to do this afternoon from 4 to 7.
Okay. Thank you, Teddy.
All right.
Thank you for letting me work my commercial in around you.
No
too.
problem. I will take my car there tomorrow, too.
I really do recommend it.
I'm going to.
Okay. Back to the phone. So then to Robin in Largo. Hi, Robin. You're on the air, WFLA.
Hello, Robert.
Hi.
Hi. I really want to point a finger here, and I think I can do so justifiably. Let me try to base what I'm trying to say with some truth here. I believe that the cinema has an incredible or an enormous responsibility when they put together this violence in front of the eyes of our young people today, because what they're doing is they're presenting a picture which becomes an image in their mind. And because the cinema is so effective in prolonging this image, that I think that they have lost the purpose of this original art form when it was in theater, and the whole purpose of, like, traversing death maybe or tragedy was for the catharsis experience. And they completely leave that out today. And they just give you this violence and leave you excited like a time bomb ready to go off. So I really believe that a heavy level of responsibility would be placed on them and should be placed on them, because they do carry the potential to influence in a great way.
Well, we live in a time where, from most of these statistics, you will find some of the top 10 video rentals are Faces of Death 1, Faces of Death 2, Faces of Death 3, where they purport to show actual killings, honest to God, right before your very eyes, blown away kind of killings. And I just don't understand why, when this is the case, why people are surprised when kids walk into the school and blow away their deans or try to blow away their deans.
Right, and I remember you saying, too, it's like they romanticize death for this age level in particular, and it's frightening. I think that, perhaps maybe the Disney Channel, by the way, they do still have My Friend Flick on every day. They offer an explanation at the end of a show, like, say, there was this one movie, The Boy Who Could Fly, and they went into great detail telling children that this is not a possibility, this is fantasy. And maybe we should bring this back to films that we know that have the potential to harm, and maybe they should have this little addendum to the end of the movie saying, or even at the beginning, what you're about to see is not real. That when this actor gets killed, he's going to get up and come to another movie. But in real life, they die. I don't know. I hear your music, so I know.
I don't know either, Robin.
I
don't know either. I'm just heartbroken today.
I know. Same here.
Take care.
Great show.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. As for the rest of you, have a good weekend. See you Monday at noon. Behave yourselves, would you?